Greetings everyone and welcome to BrickCats. Today I'm reviewing this Midi-scale Venator model designed by Grid LEGO and distributed by BrickVault. Liking this review, subscribing to my channel, or leaving a comment are all great ways to support what I do, and thank you very much in advance. If you're interested in building this or any other BrickVault model, you can take 15% off the cost of your order by using my discount code CATS15. I do receive a small amount of compensation when you use my code, and this is an amazing way to support the channel while taking a bite out of the price of the instructions. Without any substitutions, I was getting 3 stores and $79 without shipping and tax, or about $103 with shipping and tax. In my reviews, I offer my opinions on aesthetics and model features, parts issues you might want to look out for, the build experience, the model's integrity, and I offer my closing thoughts on the model in the conclusion. If you're watching this review, I assume you bought the instructions or are interested in buying them. I also assume a basic level of familiarity with Brickling's ordering system and LEGO nomenclature. My disclaimer on this and all my mock reviews is that I only use genuine LEGO bricks and I always purchase the instructions. Finally, I create these reviews for my own personal enjoyment and in the hopes that my advice will make your experience more enjoyable and or less expensive. Grid's Venator model measures just over 12.5 inches long, about 6¼ inches wide, and tops out at about 5¼ inches on the display stand. Off the display stand, the Star Destroyer itself is around 2¾ inches tall. Starting from the front, this ingot piece does a nice job filling in the gap at the front of the ship where all 4 of the large side assemblies come together. Each panel is mostly tiled off, with the only studs you see from the wedge pieces. The red stripe down the middle representing the dorsal hangar bay covers up the gap between them entirely. There is a simple but effective greebling strip filling in the gap between the top and bottom halves of the ship. There is one small gap right in the front there you can kind of see through. But this is not visible from most angles, you have to be looking straight on. The side hangars are also represented with the bay doors closed on either side. It would be nice if we got these half circle tiles or the newer 1x2 round tiles in trans-light blue or something so they can be shown as open, but maybe in the near future. Moving towards the rear of the Venator, the required trade-offs for keeping the ship in scale become a little bit more evident. I think the Republic insignia are slightly out of place, but you do have some options for moving these around. To me it looks like they should just be a little bit further back. The turbo lasers are represented by minifigure roller skates, and these are a great inclusion. My only slight issue here is that they aren't evenly spaced out, and this is something you can change on your own if you want to at the cost of some additional studs showing, so I assume the designer was trying to keep the number of visible studs to a minimum. The red stripes on the wings are all the same length, and they should get shorter as you move towards the edge. Again, this is very understandable and it's nice to have these included at all in a model this compact. The command structure looks really good to me. There's wedges and sub-assemblies at various angles to get the right look, along with simple details on the rear side. You could definitely swap out the command and starfighter bridges with dark red pieces if you wanted to convert this into one of the variants we see in the Clone Wars. All 8 engines are represented nicely with some engine glow provided by the trans blue 1x1 round plates. I also like how the top portion doesn't match the bottom hull section. This is canon accurate as the lower hull plates did extend past the upper hull plates. And if all the detail on the top side wasn't enough, the designer has included a large amount of detail on the underside as well, including this thinner red stripe down the middle, the ventral hangar bay, and the section of greebling under the command tower. The red stripes are also present here using grill tiles, and there is a little bit of an unfortunate gap right here, but not many people are going to see it from this angle, and there's not a great way to fill this in the first place. The stand is very simple and holds the ship at a nice height. In all black, it's not distracting, and basically it does exactly what it needs to do. Overall, this is a very impressive looking model, and it crams a lot of detail into a very small package. The Republic version of the Venator you see here requires 139 elements and 684 pieces. The elements for the stand are included in the main parts list. I think that makes sense, as you can't really display the model very well without the stand. There are no particularly rare or expensive elements in this model, which is really nice. I actually have all the pieces in my bins of parts, which is pretty great. That said, there are a few minor recommendations I have. The following less common pieces can be in any color, as they're on the inside and completely hidden. These 2 tile round 2x2 with dark red Star Wars semicircles pattern, part 4150PX33 in tan. These can be less common depending on your locale. Anecdotally, I believe the designer did not have any where he lives. So there are several sticker variants available that may be more common and likely less expensive. The most common one seems to be part 4150PB198. The variant with the bottom stud holder will also work, part 14769PB019, but for pricing purposes I get the printed tile in, and in the United States there doesn't seem to be a shortage. As usual, I use the Brick Hunter extension to check the entire parts list against the Pick-a-Brick inventory. I do have an affiliate link that gives me a small percentage of the value of your purchase, so thank you in advance if you choose to use it. Pick-a-Brick orders over $35 ship for free, and if you spend more than $14, the handling fees are waived. I'll go over those results in the conclusion, but note at the time I'm writing and recording this review in late September of 2025, LEGO has stopped shipping standard elements to the United States and Canada due to the elimination of the de minimis tariff exemption. So that's a little unfortunate, but honestly, the standard piece shipping time and just in general was not the greatest experience, so I find myself using bestseller only and getting the rest off Bricklink most of the time anyways. The instruction set for this model and stand has 276 steps. Each part or subassembly you add in each step is outlined in red against a light gray background. This was fine for visibility and I didn't have any problems seeing where pieces were going. The designer has included a series of very helpful notes and pictures for trickier steps, which I very much appreciate, and Noping Grid definitely took some extra time to help builders out. None of the connections are particularly complicated, but more than a couple are orientation and angle dependent. The build experience was both very similar and very different to other models in that the top and bottom panels are mostly secured with turntable tops, but the connections to the main frame are very interesting and very well done. So even though it didn't take me a long time, about 3 hours without pre-sorting, I did enjoy the build a lot and I think others will as well. I also appreciate that while the left and the right side of the bottom and top panels are mirror images of each other, the build order was slightly different to break up what could be a fairly monotonous process. There was one minor viewing angle issue in step 228. The location of the neck bracket is hidden until step 232. I contacted Noping Grid about this, and this should have been corrected by the time this review goes live. Connecting the top panels was a bit of a challenge, but it's also a very cool connection method to keep the entire structure aligned. I won't spoil it for you, but my advice is to pre-angle the plate round 1x1 with clip on bottom as best you can before trying to get the subassembly in place. Finally, in steps 274 and 275, the last thing you put on are the hanger subassemblies. This may be easier to do with the top panels off right after step 203, although this could also be in the way when trying to put the top panels on. The alignment of the 1x1 round plate with hole subassemblies in step 248 matters here, so a picture or a note would be nice. However, it's also a pretty easy fix with the existing parts of the model. I recommend using the candle engine assembly to angle it into place if you need to. Just stick the bar end of the candle into the round 1x1 plate with hole, and it should rotate fairly easily to the orientation you need. Overall, this is a very fun build and the instructions are very well done. This model can be handled and it will stand up to a fair amount of abuse before anything starts to come apart. The stand is designed to be detachable and connects to the model with just these 3 hollow studs, and that's solid enough to hold it securely, but not secure enough to make it really difficult to take off. The grip is probably something like this. All of these engines are bar connections, so they're reasonably secure. And I would probably avoid messing too much with these large side panels, so this is all one subassembly. And that's only because if something breaks here, I think it would be kind of intense to put it back together. But generally, if you're just tapping along here, they're pretty solid. The designer also warns us not to lift the model by the command structure once it's in place. So I've not been brave enough to try that for science, but I will take the designer's advice and not do that. And the stand, as you can probably tell, it's very stable. It doesn't really wobble side to side. Only thing I've noticed is that since these 3 open studs are on the long axis, you've probably seen it a couple times, but the destroyer does tend to wobble just a little bit from side to side. Connects just in here. And then if I shake my table just a little bit, it does wobble just the slightest. It's not going to come off though unless you really tap it though. So yeah, the smaller scale definitely helps with the stability as there's just fewer pieces and less proportional weight overall for the connections to hold together. And while I think this is intended to be more of a display piece, it's always nice to have the option of being able to pick it up and swish it around without worrying, or just move it from place to place with confidence it's not going to spontaneously disintegrate. I really enjoy the official Midi-scale sets from LEGO, especially since I'm always short of display space and they tend to be more manageable than the big models for my kids' attention spans. This Venator is a great addition to those, and I think there's an official one rumored for next year or something, so it'll be interesting to see how that stacks up. In any case, this is an excellent model in basically every respect, highly detailed, fun build experience, and solid enough to manipulate or swoosh as you like. Like I said in the introduction, without any substitutions, I was giving 3 stores and $79 without shipping and tax, or about $103 with shipping and tax. With my minimal color substitutions, I did actually manage to save a store, so that was pretty nice. I got 2 stores and $78 without shipping and tax, or about $95 with shipping and tax. And then using only Pick-a-Brick bestsellers, my Pick-a-Brick total was $50. The remaining elements I would get from Bricklink, I would be able to get from 2 stores for about $12 without shipping and tax, or about $25 with shipping and tax, for a total of $75. Instructions for this model, which includes the Imperial variant, cost $12.99 from BrickVault's web store, which should be similar in price. There will be a link to where you can buy those in the description below, and remember you can use the discount code CATS15 for 15% off if you haven't already used it. BrickVault runs sales fairly frequently, so keep an eye out for one of those if you're on the fence. My code does work even on sale items, and it's one-time use per email. Thanks as always for watching my review of Nopengrid's Midi-scale Venator model. If you've built this, you have something to share that I left out, or have a question about something I didn't cover, please leave your thoughts below in the comments. Remember to leave the video a like, subscribe to the channel, or follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. I hope to see you back next time.